I was sitting here and the ceiling fan came down and boom, it hit here and hit me. And look, I got a mark in my leg, but I'm all right.
What do we need?
Tenant protection!
When do we need them?
Now!
What do we need?
Tenant protection!
When do we need them?
Now!
What do we need?
Tenant protection!
When do we need them?
Now!
I've been living on 144th Avenue since 1962, and the area changed a lot. The owner put 2 floors on top of us, and the health condition has been affecting me for a long time. The dust, the debris, the walls are cracking. We get scared.
In New York City, overwhelming majority of us pay rent. About 2/3 of us are renters, so we are a renter city. And the largest chunk of rental housing is actually rent-stabilized housing. And we are losing more and more of the rent-stabilized housing stock through deregulation and through the harassment and displacement of tenants from their apartments.
I feel harassed that the owners are trying to get us to leave. I've been here for 34 years, since 1982. And this has been going on for about 2.5 years already. One day I get a phone call and he offered me money, to move out.
There are 2 reasons why rent stabilization is a critical housing resource and why we need to preserve it and protect it. Number 1, rent stabilization, it gives us an opportunity to have an affordable rent. The second thing that is sometimes overlooked is that a rent-stabilized apartment gives you the right to a renewal lease. We have the right to stay unless we are violating our lease. And if the landlord decides, well, I'd like to rent your apartment out to somebody who's paying triple the rent, they don't technically have that right.
After I turned down the money, I started getting a lot of leaks coming in, a lot of plaster coming into my apartment, holes in the ceiling. In the kitchen, half of my ceiling in the bathroom came down.
Unfortunately, we're seeing this here and in too many other places as well, where developers use construction in the building as a way of harassing tenants who are living there. Somebody moves out of an adjacent unit, maybe you harassed them out, or maybe they decided to move out on their own. And now you start renovating that building in a way that makes conditions dangerous and unsafe for the people that live next door.
You're right, you're good. The water, when it rains, and a lot of rain comes down from the ceiling, from the roof, from the top. The lady next door got a worse problem than me. Every time it rains, it goes inside her bed, on the floor, everywhere. Every day you wake up, my mother wakes up early, and she can't think. She can't go to sleep. I see her going through that. I'm going through it too,
The first protection we want is called a certificate of no harassment. And what that means is before a developer could go and get permits to build a new building or add floors to an existing building or demolish an existing building, that landlord, especially if there's any reason or any suspicion of harassment, would have to go through a process and it proved that they had not harassed tenants out of the building. And if they had harassed tenants out of the building, as in this case was done, they would not be able to get their building permits.
Homelessness rates in New York City have been rising, in large part because of harassment tactics such as constructionist harassment that landlords use to kick tenants out of affordable rent-regulated apartments.
They offered us money to get out, but it's not enough money because the rents are very high.
Take 90,000, 80,000, that goes fast. That's peanuts, right?
If you receive a $90,000 buyout, $30,000 of that is got to be paid off in taxes. So you're actually only getting a $60,000 buyout. If you have $1,000 rent-stabilized rent and you move into a $2,500 unregulated apartment whose rent can go up at any time, you're going to be paying an extra $1,500 in rent every month. Out of that $60,000 buyout that you have, within a couple of years, that's run its course. Once you give up that rent-stabilized apartment, what that means for a lot of us is that we're giving up our ability to live in Brooklyn. The 2003 rezoning is a cautionary tale of what can happen to tenants and residents when the city does not adequately protect them from its own land use actions. The city created speculation by changing the rules under which building could occur. What we really need are greater tenant protections, or to simply not rezone these areas in a way that incites such greed and such speculation.
We haven't done anything to really address the underlying incentives to harassment or displacement that a landlord has when all of a sudden the building that you own is only half as big as the building that you could have. And of course, you could bring in a lot of higher paying tenants if only you could pressure the existing tenants out, even though they have a right to live in those buildings. We have legislation in the city council that would make a big difference in doing that.
Nobody should go through what we went through. We didn't know we was gonna go through this. I didn't know. And it's scary, you know. It's like you wake up every day, you don't know you're gonna be here or not.
Right.
What do we need? Tenant protection!